welcome. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today is that we ask a lot of questions, and we're going to talk about court notes a little bit more in depth because it's an essential part of what we do, and I talked about it before and I said I was going to get back to it. Well, guess what? This is me getting back to it. So one of the things that you always want to do is take notes. When I go to my initial visit, as I have when I volunteered, I always let them know that I will be taking notes. And that hasn't really caused a problem. A lot of times I explain it like I just want to remember kind of like what we talked about, and then if you tell me something, I want to be able to quote you exactly. I don't want to write down what I think you said and have it not be accurate. This usually sets people at ease because you really do want their accurate words. So, depending on how old school you are, if you have a personal tablet or something on that idea that you're taking those notes on, that's fine because that is pretty easy. I like the old school method, and there's a reason for that. I am very much a note taker. I have tons of notes on my tablet, but when it comes down to my visits, I really like simple paper and pen. Now, the reason for that is it's a lot less intimidating for the people on the other side. Now, you can put it in a folder and you can cover it, or you can do what I did here and just leave the top page blank. Now, one of the things that you're going to be doing that we're working on together is getting that interactive plan that we talked about last week at the interactive session. And so at the interactive session, I talked about how, hey, who am I going to talk to? What am I going to want to ask? And we went over all those questions. Well, here's what it's going to look like. So what you're going to do is in advance, you will go ahead and write some questions. Now, you can't really tell what the questions are here, but I've written questions, and then I've given myself a space. And I might fill 2 or 3 of these pages of these questions and take it with me. Now, the reason why I leave that first page blank is because I want to make sure that there's some confidentiality, and that way when I put my pad down, everything's okay. Now, I will put on here questions that have to do with what I want to ask. I also let people know that there are going to be some questions that I'm going to want to ask every time we do a visit. First, are there any changes, or is there anything I need to be aware of? That's obviously one. Another question is always going to be, hey, can we go ahead and get this set up for our next session, set up for next time? I like to book out 2 weeks in advance, and we might do it on Thursday nights at 4 p.m., and we know it's every other one. I just always want to confirm right there. There are other questions that you're going to want to ask anytime. Hey, if you're talking to a parent, what have you been able to accomplish since I've seen you last? How is the child doing? There's certain questions, and I always ask them. And with the kids, I tell them, hey, there's certain things I need to check in with. For instance, one of my questions with the children is there anything you want me to tell the judge on your behalf or bring to the attention of the judge? Is there anything that you would want me to have the judge order to help you? Simple questions. They know they're coming. I'm really upfront about them, but they're all in here in our notes. Now, what ends up happening is I do take notes and I put them up here, and I date them, and I write anybody who was there. Now, while I'm in there, I'm going to write very general questions, and that's what my space is for, is to write the answers. I have no problem. I don't put any impressions or I don't put anything else. I just write the questions. So I have no problem if they want to look over what I've written down. That's not a problem. Now, the trick comes when you leave. You're going to want to leave, but not go very far. You basically want to go someplace where you will be able to. I used to pull out of the driveway and just pull down the street a little bit. It was completely safe neighborhood. Everything would be good. And I would literally stay in my car, shut it off, and then I would literally write down any of my impressions, any of my thoughts, anything that I had that I wanted to get down. Maybe there was something that I wanted to write down, an impression or something on that idea that I didn't want them to necessarily see, So what I did was, in order to keep that confidential, I didn't write it in my notes right away. I actually went ahead and I would write it here. And it's kind of like a mind dump. You're going to dump all your thoughts, impressions, observations, different things like that, no matter how subtle. And then I'm going to write that. I'm going to go through and I'm going to write that and add it to my court notes. Now, when I get back to my house, I'm going to staple these together. I'm going to put them in a folder. Then I pull these out and I look at all the ones that have happened since I submitted my last court report, and that is how I start to progress on my court report. So that's kind of what I do, and that's how I handle those notes. Now, in addition, you are about to watch a video that National CASA produced about a CASA volunteer advocate interviewing a 4-year-old. It doesn't have a lot of my favorite techniques in it, but now we've gone over how to do interviews and conversations enough that I think you'll be able to take anything good from here and leave a couple of things that might not be the best practice aside.